Hey guys, good morning. Hope everyone had their morning coffees. And we are doing well. So this is a demo session on how to centralize governance and enable builders to innovate faster. So before I begin, how many of you here attended the keynote yesterday by Steve? Awesome. Looks like everyone did. So as a part of that keynote, we actually made a product feature announcement with AWS Marketplace. Who here can tell me what that product feature was? Awesome. Yeah, so we launched the procurement system integration with Coupa yesterday. And as a part of that, we'll be doing a live demo on stage today. So thank you for joining. And before we jump into the live demo, I want to make sure we set context for folks who have not used Marketplace before. So how many of you here have actually used AWS Marketplace or heard of AWS Marketplace? All right, so a good amount. And for those who haven't, it's a managed and curated software catalog with over 1,400 ISVs, and many of whom are standing on this floor today. There are over 4,800 listings that we have built up, and we are continuing to add more listings on Marketplace. There's multiple deployment mechanisms. So you can use AMIs, which is Amazon Machine Images, on EC2. You can also do SaaS software, and then you can do desktop software. At reInvent last year, we also introduced the ability for you to go in and launch software on containers using ECS and EKS, as well as go launch software on SageMaker, specifically machine learning models and algorithms. So a wide variety of deployment mechanisms are available for you on Marketplace. Another thing that customers really like is that we have a flexible pricing model. So you can have a pay-as-you-go pricing model with all of your vendors, but you can also have a contract-based model. And then finally, you also have one consolidated bill for all your third-party software. So instead of having 200 bills generated by 200 sellers, you can have one consolidated bill which you can work with in your company, and your procurement team finds it much easier to work with that. So how does a developer go in and procure software from AWS Marketplace today? It's a fairly easy process. They search for a software that they want. And you can see, in this case, they looked for the Palo Alto firewall. They can go in and subscribe to the software by simply clicking on the Accept Terms button. So at that point, the user, once they click the Accept Terms button, they get into an agreement with the third-party vendor, and they can start deploying software successfully. So purchasing software on AWS Marketplace is that easy. So you may ask me at this point, all right, this is all great. You can procure software in Marketplace very easily. You have multiple pricing models and deployment mechanisms. So why do I even want to integrate with a procurement system outside of Marketplace and maintain the overhead of maintaining that integration? I'll tell you why. So a lot of customers told us that, hey, we get the premise of Marketplace. It's great. We get a lot of benefits with the flexible pricing. But our procurement teams are using one central procurement tool. And can you help us realize the benefits of AWS Marketplace and make sure that we bring that and marry it with our procurement systems? That would really remove friction from our procurement process, and procurement can use the same software that they're using today to start procuring third-party software. So customers told us this would help us integrate and expedite our purchases from Marketplace from the thousands of listings. They said it would also help us centralize our governance process and build approval workflows and procurement policies. So what does that mean? You can actually go in and say in your procurement tool that if my developer wants to go and purchase a software which is over $100, it would always go through an approval process. So you can define policies like those in your procurement tools, and that's why it makes a lot of sense for these enterprise customers. And then finally, spend is another item that everyone told us that, can we centralize spend? We usually generate purchase orders in our procurement systems. Can we start tying back invoices to these purchase orders? So these were the benefits that customers told us they would realize if we were to go back and build a procurement system. So we took all of that feedback, and then we said, all right, let's go back to the drawing board, come up with this integration. So I'm pleased to announce that as a part of that integration, we are now integrated with Coupa software. Coupa is a business leader in spend management. And now you can directly log in to Coupa and procure thousands of software listings that are available in AWS Marketplace. You can apply those same custom procurement policies that you have been using in your procurement tools, and you can start deploying software directly into AWS Marketplace with a few clicks. And then you can centralize all of your approvals and start having transparency in all of your purchase orders and invoices from AWS Marketplace. So we'll go through a few more slides before jumping into the live demo. This is the end user experience for requesting software. So if you're an end user and your company decides to use Coupa and use Marketplace to procure software, how would that look for that end user? So the end user would start their journey by logging into the Coupa homepage. From the Coupa homepage, they would search for any software that they want. For example, Palo Alto Firewall. Then Coupa would already have all of the listings from Marketplace, and they would start displaying those results on the Coupa homepage. After this, they would click on the listing that they want, and they would be redirected to the AWS Marketplace homepage. So AWS Marketplace is represented by the orange box here. In the Marketplace page, they would be able to look at the pricing, product details, and then say, all right, I'm ready to purchase. I'm going to submit this for approval. So the end user would submit it for approval, and then it would be automatically added into your Coupa cart. So it is as simple as that for your end users. If you're an administrator, how does this look for your particular workflow? So once the end user submits their request, you would get a notification saying, hey, somebody wants to procure software from AWS Marketplace. At that point, you would log into Coupa. You would have two options. You can either approve or you can reject it. Let's say you approve that listing. At that point, Coupa generates a purchase order for that particular software, and two things happen. One, it sends a CXML to AWS Marketplace. CXML is Commerce XML. It's a standard in the procurement industry to talk to different systems. And a subscription is created in AWS Marketplace. And the second thing that happens is that any invoices that AWS Marketplace generates, they will start flowing back into Coupa directly. So again, this is an end-to-end integration that we've built, and Coupa would be your central source for your procurement. So all invoices generated in Marketplace will be sent to Coupa automatically. On the top half of the screen, you can see the AWS bill that will be generated, and the one below is the email that is sent once Coupa receives that bill. All right, so that's a little bit of background on what we've built. Now let's jump into a live demo. A lot of people told me not to attempt a live demo, but I'm going to do that, so let's hope the demo gods are with us today. All right, so Jane, the developer, has been tasked with building a video streaming application. As a part of that video streaming application, she wants to go and procure a software out of AWS Marketplace. That software is called Wowza. Her company has also started using Coupa to procure all of the software from AWS Marketplace. So how does Jane go in and procure software from Coupa and then eventually AWS Marketplace? So the first step, Jane logs into the Coupa interface. All right, Jane has now logged in. This is the Coupa homepage. Jane has two options now to search for AWS Marketplace software. The first option is she can search for the Marketplace software directly from the search bar on the Coupa homepage. So if she's looking for Wowza software, she would just search for that, and she will receive all of the results from the AWS Marketplace page. So in this case, you can see there are 8 results displayed, and this functionality is called Open Buy in Coupa. So let's say Jane wants to procure Wowzer Streaming Engine, which is a Linux paid version. She would simply click on the Visit Store button, and that would bring her directly to the AWS Marketplace page. So from here on, she can start procuring this software. Let's go back and look at the second way Jane can go and procure software from Coupa. All right, so the second way is on the bottom right of the screen, you can see there's a Shop Online section. In that, we have added an AWS Marketplace banner, which is essentially going to take them directly to the AWS Marketplace homepage. So Jane clicks on this button. It takes her to the AWS Marketplace homepage. She realizes that, wait, I have not signed into AWS yet. So she clicks on Sign In and adds her credentials. These are the same credentials that she uses for her AWS accounts. All right, Jane has now logged in. Since Jane has not had her morning coffee, she doesn't remember if she's gone and procured software yesterday. So she wants to go and make sure she hasn't procured anything. So she clicks on Your Marketplace Software, and she sees that there are no subscriptions in her account currently. With that, she's ready to go and request for her product from Marketplace. So she searches for Wowzer. And on the search page, you can see these are the same 8 results that she saw on the Coupa homepage, and they're displayed on AWS Marketplace. At this point, she's using a Linux machine, so she wants to go and procure Wowzer Streaming Engine for Linux. She clicks on that. She's brought to the product page. At this point, she goes through the product overview, sees if the version and the deployment method makes sense. The deployment method says Amazon machine image. That means this goes on to an Amazon EC2 instance. She goes and looks at the pricing information because she has gotten rejected before for trying to procure really expensive products. So in this case, we have a tool that developers can use to estimate your cost before you actually purchase software. So she adds in the region, which is North Virginia. She adds in the fulfillment option, which is 64-bit. And then here's the important piece. She can look at the software pricing and the infrastructure pricing in this tool. She chooses T2 small and makes sure that the price works for her. She scrolls down and looks at the end user license agreement. Jane is the only developer in the world who actually reads the license agreement. All right, she's happy with that. At this point, she's ready to procure. She clicks on Continue to Subscribe, and it takes her to the subscription page. Now, remember from the presentation, we had seen that there was actually an Accept Terms button where Jane could directly go and accept terms. Now, we've replaced it with a Submit for Approval button. So she can't really go in and do this on her own. It has to be going through an approval workflow. So she's ready to submit this for approval. All right. At this point, she's redirected back to her procurement platform, which is Coupa. Right? You can see that this has added one punch-out item in her shopping cart. This is very simple to understand. She goes in and adds the general information, and in the business purpose says, for my video streaming application development. I can clearly speak faster than I type. All right, so the cart items here say that she has procured Wowzer Streaming Engine, and there's an estimated price for the entire year here. So this will not be the price that will be incurred. You would still get price based on your usage, but in this case, we have provided just an estimate that this is the estimate that will be used for this software. So she scrolls down and sees that Bob, the manager, is the approver. And she remembers that Bob has rejected a lot of her requests previously because she didn't add in any comments. So at this point, she remembers that let me remind Bob that we had spoken about this during the Monday Scrum. So based on our discussion during the Scrum on Monday, she adds this comment. You can see the comment is shown here. And then she clicks on Submit to Approval. All right, so requisition has been submitted successfully for approval. At this point, Jane is ready to go home. She has a party planned. So she goes back and she says, all right, we'll wait for Bob to go in and approve it. Meanwhile, Bob receives an email which says, purchase approval request for Jane, the developer. Do you want to go and approve this request, or do you want to go in and investigate? So Bob can actually just directly approve. But since Bob is a very meticulous person, he wants to go and investigate further. So he logs in. And sees in his to-do list that there's a purchase approval for Jane, the developer, pending. And the business purpose here is video streaming. So Bob is like, all right, let me see how much this is going to cost me, because that is the main thing that I care about. So he clicks on the to-do list, and he goes through the requisition. So this is the requisition that was created by Jane. He looks at the product that she's procuring, and he looks at the estimate, the maximum estimate for an entire year. All right, at this point, he reads the comment that based on our discussion during the Monday Scrum, and he's like, oh yeah, Jane actually did request for this. So let me go ahead and approve this for her. So he goes in, and then he clicks on approve. All right, so this requisition is now approved. At this point, Bob also receives an invoice. So you can see that an invoice has been submitted for Bob, and he can go and look at that invoice that is generated. So this invoice ends with 693. And you can see that this invoice has been generated in Coupa as well. So the same invoice from AWS Marketplace has flown into Coupa using CXML. And you can see that there's a purchase order that is linked to this invoice. So every invoice that is generated subsequently, it will start getting attached to this purchase order with a -1, -2, and incrementally keeps adding it. All right, so that's how the invoice looks. Now Bob is ready to go home. He's done a lot of work today by approving this one requisition, so he wants to go back home. He closes this window and signs out. All right, so Jane comes back after her party, and she receives an email. Hi, Jane. Exciting news, your acquisition has been approved. You can start your project now. So she's excited, and she logs in. All right, and in her recent activity, you can see that her latest request for a browser streaming engine has been approved. She clicks on that requisition, looks at it, and sees, all right, this seems to be approved. Bob has approved it, so I'm going to say thank you tomorrow. Or I can just add a comment. And then there's also a purchase order issued here. So Jane is a very detail-oriented person. She doesn't have to go and look at the purchase order, but she still does. And in the general information for the purchase order, it says the status is issued, sent via CXML. What does this mean? This means this has been sent to AWS Marketplace via Commerce XML. And now if you log into AWS Marketplace, you will see this as your subscription. So Jane is ready now to deploy this software. She clicks on AWS Marketplace. And then she clicks on your marketplace software. And she sees that the browser streaming engine is ready for her, and it's subscribed to. So before we go forward and deploy this, let's quickly look at how this integration is set up. So under AWS Marketplace account, we have enabled a new section, which is Manage Coupa Integration. In this, you can add your account information. You can add information for invoice delivery. And this is the endpoint from Coupa that you will enter. So if you have a Coupa instance in your company, you would simply add the invoice endpoint that Coupa provisions, and you would add it on the marketplace page. And you can see the purchase information here. All of this information would be added onto your Coupa. All right? So at this point, Jane is ready to start her development project. She clicks on Launch More Software. This takes her to configure the software. She's happy with all of the options. Clicks on Continue to Launch. Takes her to launch this software. She can directly launch and deploy products from Marketplace. So that's this option, Launch from Website. Now, since this is her first workload, she's not going to add this into production. So she's going to choose T2 Small. And she chooses her VPC settings, her subnet settings, the security group, and then finally the key pair. So she has all that information added. And she simply clicks on Launch. And congratulations, your instance of browser streaming engine is successfully deployed on Amazon EC2. So that's the end-to-end flow of how the procurement system integration works with AWS Marketplace. And my name is Sagar Khasnis. Thank you for staying around. If you have any questions, I'll be around the booth. Feel free to come over and have a chat, and we can talk about how we can enable this for you. So thanks for hanging out.